Welcome to the solution section of the sales call structure. From here, what happened previously is this. So we went through what's the overarching outcome they want, what's their current situation, what they're doing to do that right now, what's the problem, how long the problems are going on, how the problem's impacting them, what's causing the problem. And we also removed the alternative option and elicited secondary problems. From here, we're trying to find out, okay, what they have tried before to try to solve the problem. Okay, what they have tried before to try to solve the problem, and what are they looking for in an ideal solution. The reason why we want to find out what they tried before is because there's going to be different things that pop up that we'll be going through in the decision tree. But whatever the thing is, if you don't address it here before the pitch and the price, what's going to happen is if you don't address it, it's going to happen as an objection later on. As an example, if you've asked them, hey, what have you tried before to try to solve this problem? And if they say nothing, and then they have tried nothing for the last 6 months, even though they had this problem for 6 months, what's going to be the objection that happens at the end? Right. Hey, this sounds good, but I'm just going to keep looking around on YouTube, which doesn't help them, which doesn't help you. So I see this section as almost like Doctor Strange in the Avengers movie, where you know how Doctor Strange meditates and then sees those 14 million different possibilities with a time stone? Like what could happen? This is kind of like that, because by asking questions, you can find out what's the thing that's held them back from either taking action or from succeeding, and then you can actually address it. Okay? But if you don't address it, it's going to happen as an objection. But if you address it, then now, first of all, you reframe it to take action or whatever that's holding them back. And also, if they try something, what didn't work, you ask questions to help them realize why it didn't work. Okay? And then in your pitch, you can position your solution as something different than what they tried before, as long as it's true. So let's dive into examples. Okay. Question. So before you start talking to me, were you out there looking for ways to get outcomes so you could get outcome, or what have you been doing? So before you start talking to me, were you out there looking for ways to start a business so you could make more money, get to the 10K a month, or what have you been doing? Okay. So before you start talking to me, were you out there looking for ways to lose weight, to get rid of the 30 pounds, or what have you been doing? So before you start talking to me, were you out there looking for ways to get more quality leads so you could grow the business to 50 grand a month? Or what have you been doing? If you're still dating. So before you start talking to me, were you out there looking for ways to know what to say to girls so you could get more dates with quality women? Or what have you been doing? So again, we're threading what they told us into the next conversation, next question. Okay. And the answer, okay. And then from there, depending on whatever the answer they give you, you address that. And after that, okay, so let's do this because I want to make sure what we do would actually work for you. So what are you sort of looking for in a program or solution? If you sell marketing agency services, what are you sort of looking for in a potential partnership to help you grow the business? If you sell coaching programs, what are you sort of looking for in the coaching program to help you make more money, to help you get more dates, to help you lose weight? Okay, like what would be your ideal criteria? Okay. And they'll say, hey, I'm looking for this. If they say accountability, okay, so that accountability, why is that so important to you now, though? Okay. So now let's go into the decision tree. Okay. This is where things get interesting. I know there's a lot on there, but take a deep breath, calm down. Okay. We'll go through why we're doing what we're doing. Because once you understand why, okay, what you're trying to do and why, what the purpose of this, what's the objectives I'm trying to get from this part of the conversation, from this question, then it's like, oh, the questions and the things you say naturally come to you. Okay. So let's go back. So before you start talking to you, we're out there looking for ways to start a business or get more money, or what have you been doing? And you'll typically get one of two answers. Either they tried something like a program, or they haven't tried something. Okay. So let's go into the first bit. Okay. Yes, I've tried I've tried something. Okay. And if they already told you I've tried different coaching programs, that's fine. If they say they try something, but they don't really clarify, then you can actually clarify. Oh, so what have you tried? Okay. And they'll be like, this and this and this. I tried these programs. I tried like an SMMA program. And either they'll say that didn't work, or if they don't say. So we got to find out if, like, what kind of results they got from it. Okay. Because, like, what happened? And they'll say not good, which is why they're on the sales call. And if they say, so not good, you ask them, okay, were the other people in the program getting results? And you'll get a yes or no. Most of the times they'll say yes, but. They say yes, but and they still to make an excuse or whatever reason to justify why they didn't get the results they wanted. Okay. What we're trying to do here is get them to take responsibility. Okay. So that we got to get them to take responsibility because most people don't. Okay. Especially in like coaching programs. So yes, but you don't let them get to the but, you interject immediately. Okay, so if other people in the program were getting results, what if you held you back from getting results from the same program? So we asked this question, what the other people getting results in the same program? Because if other people were but this person wasn't, then what actually happened? Because if you don't address it, then what's going to happen is like, okay, the same thing is going to happen with our program. Like, what's happening? So yes, there were people getting results. So if the other people are getting results, what if you held you back from getting results from the same program? And they'll either say an excuse or an actual genuine reason. If they say something like, yeah, I just didn't put much into it because, you know, I had a death in the family, and then it actually seems genuine, then you actually empathize to be like, hey, listen, so sorry to hear that. So how are things different now? And if they say something like, oh, you know, that was a pretty tough spot, but I'm in a better place now, so I can do something like this. So it makes sense. So at that point, you can move on. Okay, so let's do this because I want to make sure what we do could actually work for you. So what are you sort of looking for in an actual program to help you with something like trading? Like what would be your ideal criteria? Okay, that was a pretty straightforward one. But if they start making excuses, what you got to do is you got to reframe them. Okay, if they say like, I don't have the time, whatever. If they start making excuses, that's a typical one. I didn't have the time. At that point, you got to shift their perspective because the thing is, everyone makes time for things that are important to them. Okay, it's midnight, 7 minutes past midnight here right now. I'm recording this training, so everyone can make time for something that's important to them, right? If it's someone like your partner, your girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, whatever, you will make time, right? If sales is important to you, you'll make time to set aside the time to learn these skills, make the outbound dials, do the upsells, and then actually make it work. Simple as that. If your health and fitness is important to you, then actually you'll do the things required to go to the gym, get a personal trainer, whatever you got to do. Like you will, right? So step number one to objections or excuses the prospects give you is you got to be the person. I know congruency is such an overplayed word in the industry, but it is, you got to be the person that's actually living the thing yourself. The reason why I can challenge prospects on these things is because I just don't believe in people's excuses. I do not believe in partner objections because as a man, I think if a guy has to ask his wife to buy a coaching program on how to start a business to provide more for the family, it makes zero absolute sense to me. Zero. Absolute none. Same thing here. If someone says like I didn't have the time, I just don't believe in that because I make the time, you know, for things that are important to me. For things that are not important to me, I don't. So at that point, what you do is this. Step number one, you got to get buy-in on a different perspective. Okay. And how you do that is, hey, can I offer a perspective on that? Can I make a suggestion? Are you open to looking at that from a different angle? There's different ways of asking it. The point is you're trying to get buy-in on them looking at it from a different angle. Okay. Because if you don't, they may be more reluctant when you do the reframe. Okay. So you got to get buy-in. They're like, yes, sure. They will always say that. And you do a reframe. And there's different ones you can do. Let's say if they're making excuses on time, some things you can say is, hey, can I make a suggestion? Yeah, sure. So, you know, Elon Musk, just like you and me, we all have 24 hours in a day. So why is it that some people accomplish more and some people don't? Well, because people who are successful, they actually make time for things that are important to them to make it work. So could it be possible that it's not like you didn't have the time, it's that you didn't set aside the time so that you could actually get out of your cubicle? So you ask in a question form, right? That's called a reframe. And you get buy-in. They're like, yeah. And at that point, you got to get commitment on change. So how do you feel you need to change within yourself with setting aside the time so you don't have to keep being stuck in your cubicle? So how do you feel you need to change within yourself with X? Okay, what are the excuses they give you? Right? Time, responsibility, comfort zone, whatever. So you don't have to keep problem continuing. If they say something like, yeah, it's just I was too scared, I was afraid of failing, then you also reframe that. A reframe you could do is, hey, can I offer a perspective? They're like, yeah, sure. So you having fear of failure is completely normal because we all have that. So you normalize it. Whenever they have fear of failure, you normalize it. The reason why we want to normalize and not saying like, hey, you got to be fearless is because when you normalize it, first of all, they feel empathy. And second of all, they feel like, oh, I guess I'm not a weird one. This is supposed to happen. So it becomes a lot easier for you to steer them to where they want to go, which is getting them to get outside of the comfort zone, right? So it's not like, whenever we see successful people, it's not like they don't feel fear, because if they're fearless, they'll be a robot or a sociopath. It's just that they had fear, but they walked through it anyway, and that's called being courageous. So that's a reframe, right? Or reframe is getting them to see things from a different perspective. In BizOp, responsibility and comfort zone frames really land well. Really land well. And most offers, yes, but especially BizOp, just because in BizOp, the reason why people don't move forward on sales call from BizOp is because they don't take responsibility and they're afraid of getting outside the comfort zone. Reason why is because if someone's in a 9-to-5 job, they've pretty much their whole life, they've been not having to take responsibility, and they haven't need to take to get outside the comfort zone. Because responsibility, their boss or their boss's boss takes all the responsibility. The CEO takes all the responsibility. If something goes wrong, the CEO takes all the risk. The business owner takes all the risk. As an employee, you're just instructed instructions and you just do the thing. Therefore, you don't have to take responsibility. You're an order taker, right? Nothing wrong with that. It's just the reality of the situation, right? And also, same thing with comfort zone. They may not be happy with their situation. They may not be happy with the amount of money they're making, but they know exactly what they're going to get. They know when they're going to get paid. They know how much they're going to get paid. And therefore, because of that, they don't need to get outside the comfort zone. But starting a business, trading, or even like making a decision on a sales call, making a commitment to change, that itself requires getting outside the comfort zone, right? So that's why you use that frame, right? So it's not like they don't feel fear. It's just that they feel fear, look that fear dead in the eyes, they walk through it anyway. And that's called being courageous. Okay. So how do you feel you need to change within yourself regarding your comfort zone so you don't have to keep being stuck in your cubicle? Boom. So how do you feel you need to change within yourself in regards to accountability or responsibility so you don't have to feel unconfident with your belly fat? So how do you feel you need to change within yourself as a man regarding that fear of failure so you don't have to end up alone and feeling frustrated if you're still on dating? Okay, so you reframe it, whatever your offer is. But I want you to understand the framework. I don't want you to say like, oh, this won't work because my offer is this. No, stop saying it won't work because, okay, as a sales professional, that's what people who don't succeed do. Oh, this won't work because of XYZ. That's what losers do. Okay, as successful sales professionals, okay, how can I make this work? Because if you're the one that says this won't work, if a prospect said this won't work, how are you going to overcome their objection? You can't, right? So, and if you have questions, you can post in the community, comment the coaching calls and things that can help you, but tailor for your offer. Yeah, I need to change. If they say something like that, I need to, but that's not a commitment. It's like, I need to, but you got to get them to commitment to change, right? Not commitment on the product or the program, but commitment to change and seeing that from a different perspective. So you can say something like, okay, you need to, but are you willing to start getting outside of your comfort zone so you can leave your job? You need to, but are you willing to take responsibility for your own success in your life so that you can get outcome? They're like, yes. Okay, why? You want to ask why? Because you want to solidify basically their commitment to change and the reason why. Because you want to probe why on things that's going to benefit the sale. Because when they say why, they got to explain to you, but more importantly to themselves, well, because if I don't get outside my comfort zone, I'm going to keep stuck in your job. Right? So at that point, when I used to sell BizOp, I used to have a red line on my script. I actually had 2 red lines. One on the cost of inaction until they verbalized what the actual cost of inaction is. I never moved on. I learned it from Matt Ryder. But me, I had another red line in here, right here, on the reframe. And I had a red line and I named it commitment bridge. So I wrote it down, commitment bridge. So until they committed to change, I never moved on. And that's I attribute that to part of the big reasons why on one of the first the BizUp offer when I was on Sales Sniper, I was outselling the other 3 reps combined by myself. There are other reasons too, but there was also another big part of it. Okay. Now let's go through other scenarios because that happens too. So let's go back. Okay. So if they say, okay, were the other people in the program getting results? And they say no, and you clarify, okay, so there wasn't a single person that wasn't getting results from the program. And then they say, I mean, I guess there are some people getting results, but again, same situation. So if other people are getting results from the program, you go to this, okay, and I'll attach the decision tree in the file resource section as well, so you can take a look, so you can just enlarge it. And if they say yes, there wasn't a single person in the program getting results. Okay, so could that be the reason why it didn't work out? The fact that you were following a process that's not proven to work. Yeah, I guess it could be. And then you move. Okay, so let's do this because I want to make sure what we do would actually work for you. Okay. Now, let's go to the scenario where they haven't really tried something. They haven't done a program or they haven't taken action. This is a red flag. And depending on when it is too. Okay. Especially if you know up top in the problem, you ask them how long the problem's been going on. And the problem's been going on for like usually for like a few months and they haven't done something, that's a red flag. Because if you don't address it there, what's going to happen? They're going to keep giving objections like, yeah, sounds good. I'm just going to keep looking around. I think I'm going to go think about it. So we got to address it right here and there. Okay. So, no, I haven't really tried something. Oh, what's held you back from taking action so you could actually get out of your job? So you don't have to be stuck in your cubicle. And at that point, again, if they say a genuine reason, like their family member passing away, something like that, how are things different now? I'm in a better position. Okay, perfect. And you move on to this. Okay, so let's do this. All right. But usually, typically, they'll give an excuse. At that point, same exact framework. Can I offer perspective? Yeah, sure. Reframe. Okay, I need to change, but are you willing to? Right. So I know this looks complicated, but the overarching objective we're trying to get is this. What actually happened? And if they're making excuses, if they're procrastinating, you just address it. And then you get a commitment to change. That's all we're trying to do. Okay. And also here too, you may get answers like, oh, I just haven't found something that's legit. Now, that doesn't make any sense, especially if their problem has been going on for quite some time now. Because if someone's looking hard enough, they'll go find at least some YouTube channels, some programs, like some solutions. They'll find something. How do I know this? Because I've done it myself a few times. Like I was so desperate. I remember when I didn't know how to talk to people, and I was 19, I was a virgin, and then I was feeling so lonely that on Google I searched how to talk to girls or how to talk to strangers, something like that. And then other like some solutions popped up, and then from that I bought seminars and courses from that. You know what I mean? So, and then when I was trying to make more money, I'm like, okay, how to make more money online? Like I think we've all been there. How to make more money online, and then you get a bunch of different suggestions, right? And then from there, how to start an SMA, how to get into high closing, all that kind of stuff. That's where we're probably here, right? And so from there, they may not be the best solutions, but it's something, right? I remember when I was selling sales training, and then salespeople say like, yeah, I just haven't found something good. I just haven't found something legit. And I'll say something like, sounds like you weren't looking hard enough. There are gurus and people that are spending $1 million a month on ads. If you're looking for it, then you'll get targeted with those ads and you'll look for solutions. You can literally say stuff like that. I've done that, and they'll be like, yeah. So let's talk about that. Like, why weren't you looking hard enough? What's holding you back? Same thing here. Right? And then you take them through this process. Okay. Once you've taken them through the process, then you'll get into the ideal solution. The reason why I want to find out their ideal solution is because in your pitch, you want to tailor for basically going to be so tailored to them exactly what they're looking for, which gets them to more likely to move forward. Okay. So you just ask them. That's what business is, right? Hey, what do you want? And you give it to them. Okay. So let's do this because I want to make sure what we do would work for you. So what are you sort of looking for in an ideal solution? What are you looking for in a coaching program to start a business? What are you looking for in a potential partner to really grow the business? Okay. Like what would be your ideal criteria? And then here we say and then we do the finger snap thing on purpose, because what that does is it makes it look less scripted. If you say, okay, what would be your ideal criteria? You can say that, and you don't want to overdo this, but here we do this. Like what would be your ideal criteria? And then they'll either say the ideal criteria, hey, I need feedback, I need accountability, I need help with this. In that case, perfect. We move on. Okay. And then we ask, and then you refer back to what they said, and then you ask, why is that important? Because if you just ask, hey, why is that important? Then they'll be like, which one? Especially if they said multiple things. Okay. Okay. So the accountability, why is that so important to you now, though? Okay. So the reason why we ask, why is that so important to you now, though, is because now they say, why the accountability is important, and they'll typically say because I don't have that right now. So it also elicits secondary problems. Okay. Now, if they say, well, I don't know what I need, that's why I'm here, or that, I mean, I was hoping that you could tell me. If they say stuff like that, then be like, oh, I mean, it depends on each person. Nothing's cookie cutter for what we do. So, like, how do you learn best usually? So when you say that, I'm a visual learner, what does that mean? I'm a hands-on person, what does that mean? Oh, I need some feedback and someone to answer my questions. Okay. And then someone, giving you feedback, why is that so important to you now though? Now, there's two different ways of asking the question. So we ask this question in this particular way for a very specific purpose. I learned this from Matt Ryder. So whenever you want to accentuate something, you say that. Why is that? And then you put a pause before and or after the word that you want to accentuate. Okay. So we started here on purpose. Why is that? So that refers to that item, accountability, feedback, whatever the thing they told you. Important to you now, though. And the so important to you now, though, you're just saying it like so important to you now, though. So important to you now, though. You see that? You're not saying like, why is that so important to you now, though? Because you're emphasizing the item, and the now, the time frame. So the prospect gives you either different types of answers, so they get confused on, should I answer based on the accountability? Should I answer based on why it's important to you now, this exact moment? And also you get different types of answers, which you don't want that. Okay. So that we want to know why the accountability is important. Now, there may be situations where you actually accentuate the now. Because, for example, if the prospect was lacking urgency, if they've been procrastinating, then in that case, you actually want to accentuate the now, even if you reframed it early on. So you'd ask it like, okay, the accountability, why is it important to you like now though? Why is it important to you like pause now though? You see that? Because if you accentuate that word and now they answer based on time frame, oh, because I'm not getting any younger. Stuff like that. So you see like where you accentuate how you said it, you can get different answers. Okay. But most of the times you'll probably ask like, why is that so important though? Okay. And then you get a reason, and then you move on to the desired situation where you start to future pace goals, then draw out emotions. Okay. So this part, study this. I know it's not quite a lot, but again, what you're trying to do, understand what happens, get them to take responsibility, get commitment to change. That's all we're trying to do. Okay. So practice it. If you get any questions, post in the community and keep us updated on how it goes. All right. Next training.